Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is July 31st, and what a day it's been. Crazy, crazy day with all the news and constant changing reports and constant updates from Dallas, Texas, and from Barcelona. And of course, you guessed it, it's about Ousmane Dembele and his decision to leave the club during this summer transfer market. So I have all the details for you about Dembele, everything that's been going on today, what exactly happened, what will happen next, what's the club's position, what's the player's position. So we'll discuss all of that. There's going to be a lot of discussion about Ousmane Dembele. And next, we will talk about the meeting between Barcelona and Real Valladolid for the signing of Ivan Fresneda. We have a lot to discuss, so let's dive right in. Welcome, everyone, to the channel. My name is Mo. As always, this is the live stream, the Barca News live stream, which is on every Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As usual, we'll do a segment of news, then we'll hit to the chat section, get a discussion going, try to answer any of you guys' questions. And then, of course, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, if my voice is a little bit weird, if I sneeze, if I cough, if I blow my nose, I apologize. I'm a little bit sick. Actually, I don't know if I'm actually sick or if it's allergies. I'm not feeling too good. I'm very congested. So I do apologize. I hope I don't gross any of you guys out. But I'm here. I'm ready to give you the news. So let's dive right in. Now, I broke, excuse me. Here we go. Yesterday, in yesterday's video, I mentioned that Dembele had communicated to the club his decision to leave Barcelona to join PSG. And today, a lot of developments after that announcement. It seems that Moussa Sissoko, who's Ousmane Dembele's agent, sent a letter to Barcelona today requesting permission to negotiate a transfer to PSG. And it seems that Barcelona said, absolutely not. We're not going to negotiate with anyone. If you want to take Dembele to PSG, then PSG need to come and pay the release clause. Now, of course, Dembele's release clause up until July 31st was worth 50 million euros, where the player would get 25 million euros and Barcelona would get 25. So even though Barcelona were going to lose money by getting, that 50 million euro release clause activated because the club would only get 25 million euros, Barcelona did not care. They're completely sick and tired of Dembele. They're sick and tired of Moussa Sissoko. They've been dealing with him for years, and he's always been pulling stunts like these. So they're completely tired. So they told Moussa Sissoko, if you want to take Dembele to PSG, pay the release clause, or we're not negotiating. Now, Dembele would prefer negotiations. He even would be willing to forego the 25 million euros that he would get from the activation of release clause. So he says, according to his version, is he wants to negotiate because he doesn't want to leave Barcelona on a bad note. He considers that activating the release clause and leaving is leaving on a bad note. And you might think, oh my God, Dembele, he's such a nice guy. He's willing to forego the 25 million euros from the release clause. He wants to negotiate. That's not why. The reason why he would rather negotiate is because if the release clause is activated and PSG pay the 50 million euros, yes, Dembele would get the 25, but after taxes, it would be a lot less, and that's all he would get. But if Dembele can negotiate with PSG, then now we're talking about signing bonuses. Now we're talking about making a lot more money. And the tax system in France is a lot more favorable than the one in Spain. So yes, Dembele willing to forego the 25 million euros from the release clause, but it's not because he's nice. It's because he would get a lot more money by actually negotiating a deal for his transfer to PSG. Now, what exactly happened? It was a chaotic day. PSG sent a letter to La Liga requesting the activation of the release clause, but they were not able to process all the paperwork and to pay the release clause on time. And therefore, that release clause expired, and now it's up to 100 million euros. So that is good news for Barcelona. PSG were not able to pay the release clause on time, so they will have to pay the 100 million euro release clause. Now, Barcelona, despite initially saying they won't negotiate with PSG, now they have changed their stance and they are willing to negotiate with PSG, but it's reported that they have given the French club a 5-day deadline to try to reach an agreement. Now, this is, in my opinion, is good because, yes, we could technically demand the 100 million euro release clause. But on the other hand, if PSG can tell us, you know what, F you, we don't want to pay 100 million euros, and they decide to wait until next season, and the next season they can take Dembele for free. So I think the best thing to do right now is for Barcelona to negotiate with PSG. It's reported that the club might be able to negotiate maybe 50 million euros for Dembele. I think that would be really good to give 50 million euros for the French player versus the 25 that the club would have gotten after release clause, or versus zero if PSG ends up saying, F you, we'll wait until next year, which it looks like what Real Madrid are doing with Mbappe. So for now, to recap, PSG were not able to pay the release clause on time, so it went up to 100 million because it was set to go up on August 1st to 100 million. Of course, it's already August 1st in Europe, and Barcelona have agreed to sit down and negotiate a transfer fee. Now, it seems that Xavi Hernandez is really upset about everything that's going on, and he has requested a sit down with Dembele because he wants the player to tell him in person while looking him in the eyes that he wants to leave the club. And the reason for this is because it's Xavi Hernandez who has advocated for Dembele. You know, the club did not want anything to do with him back in the winter. They didn't want anything to do with him when his contract expired. But it was Xavi that insisted over and over and over again for Barcelona to give Dembele a new contract. And now he feels like he's been betrayed. So he wants to sit down with the player. He wants to hear it from the player's mouth that Dembele wants to leave to PSG. Of course, this hasn't happened. I'm not surprised that Dembele hasn't had the courage or the balls to tell Xavi that he wants to go to PSG because, of course, they are tripling his salary. So it is, after all about the money. Now, we do have some more news about this alternative story that's currently circulating in the news about why Dembele is leaving. And there's also, I want to talk about what kind of options we could have to replace the French player. But for now, let's head to the comment section or to the chat section. Let's get a discussion going. Let's see if you guys have any questions, and then we'll get back to the news. I see a lot of people were waiting. I apologize. I was late. I had to work from home today since I'm sick. So I had to rearrange my whole setup because I had my my work laptop connected to the station that I use for my YouTube videos. So then I had to disconnect everything, use my regular laptop. Anyways, it's a mess. I apologize for the delay, but let's see. Teja says, does Dembele potential departure give tactical flexibility? I don't. Departure of Dembele is definitely a tactical problem because Dembele is the most dangerous player on our team as far as dribbling, creating chances, his change of pace, his speed. There's nobody on the team that could do what Dembele does. Maybe Abde to a certain extent, but of course Dembele does it 10 times better than Abde. So that's the problem with Dembele leaving. It will weaken the team, but yes, it could open us to tactical flexibility, like you said, maybe a 4-4-2 with, or maybe going back to a 4-3-3, but it's reported that Xavi does want a 4-4-2 instead. So we're going to have to see who we can replace Dembele with, and we'll talk about that because you cannot count on Rafinha to do what Dembele does because he can't, right? We've seen it over and over again. Rafinha's not the kind of player that can dribble, that can create chances. He's not. Anyways, let's see. Sally says, Mo, with Dembele out, can Barca bring Roque sooner? I'll talk about that in the options to replace Dembele, so stay tuned. Tejas has the same question. Again, we'll talk about that. Let's see, what else? Whew. Sorry, guys. My nose is killing me. Chris says, FC has a snake. If he leaves, I don't think he's a snake. If he leaves, look, players, after all, have to look out for their best interests. If PSG are offering him triple the salary, you know, you would take it. I would take it. Any of us would take it in a heartbeat. You know, I don't think Dembele is a snake or he's the worst person ever for wanting more money. It is what it is. We have to deal with it. That's the nature of the market. What can you do? Richard says, Mo, the GOAT. Thank you, Richard. This GOAT is a little sick, so I apologize. Dark Knight says, is anyone else disappointed in Dembele? All along, he gave the impression he wanted to stay. Yeah, unfortunately, he did the same thing last winter transfer market. He didn't negotiate. He did it again in summer. His contract ended up expiring, and now he's doing it again. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Like I said, it will hurt the team, but I'm personally relieved because every time it was, there was any kind of negotiations, it was always a headache. It was always, you never knew what Dembele was going to do. You never knew what Sissoko was going to pull out of his pocket. So I personally am relieved that this saga, that this drama that's lasted 6 years, it's finally coming to an end. Again, sporting wise, it will hurt the club, but overall, I think I'm kind of relieved that he's leaving. All right, let's get back to the news because today a story in the media started circulating that the reason why Dembele wants to leave Barcelona, it's because supposedly he feels used because Barcelona had an offer on the table to trade Dembele and Gabi for Mbappe, and therefore Dembele feels used. He feels betrayed by the club because he feels like he was going to be used as a pawn for Barcelona to sign Mbappe. Now, that's the story that's been circulating in the morning and around the media. Of course, I don't think you need me to tell you that it's absolute BS. You could tell just from the face of it. It's complete crap. There was never an offer on the table for Mbappe in exchange of Dembele and Gabi. I don't think PSG would be stupid enough to want to trade Mbappe for Dembele. I mean, yes, Gabi's a great player, but I don't know. Would you want Dembele instead of Mbappe on your team? That doesn't make sense to me. Also, Gabi is completely untransferable to the club. Dembele was also untransferable to the club until he pulled the stunt that he did. So, of course, there's no truth to this story. Some reports or some rumors are saying that this story could be circulating in the media because Sissoko is out there kind of like leaking this just to make Dembele look better, to make him look like he's leaving because, the club treated him bad, not because of the money. But we all know it is about the money because PSG have offered to triple Dembele's salary. Also, there are rumors saying that Dembele actually brought this offer to Barcelona and asked the club to match it. And when Barcelona said no, that's when he made the decision to leave. So this is strictly about money. This is not because Dembele feels hurt. This is not about because Barcelona mistreated Dembele. If anything, Barcelona gave Dembele way more chances than he ever deserved. His first 5 years, he made a lot of money, and he spent it mostly injured. I think he only paid half of the matches that he was supposed to play or that he could have been available for. Then there was the whole saga of his, negotiations, constantly telling the club he wanted to stay, but then not negotiating with the club. Sissoko going around Europe, offering Dembele to all the big clubs. So we all know how Barcelona have given him chance after chance. So this is not about Barcelona mistreating Dembele. This is simply about money. So if you see that story around, just know that it's absolute BS. Now, let's get back to the chat section. I know you guys have a lot of things to say about the whole Dembele saga. And next, we'll talk about the possible replacement for Dembele and what can Barcelona do to, make up for this loss, which, again, it will be an important loss. Not the end of the world. Barcelona will still be fine. But, of course, it is a loss because Dembele was a fundamental player for Xabi and his tactics. Young Brave says, let's get it right back. I do have some news about it right back, so stay tuned. Adoyan says, stayed up today for live because of Dembele news. I appreciate you staying up. It's been a crazy day. I could hardly focus at work. There's constant updates, constant reports coming out. Especially since, the team is in Dallas. So there's news coming out from Dallas. There was news coming out from Barcelona, news coming out of France. It's been a crazy, crazy day. I wanted to keep you guys updated, but there was so much changing that I said, you know what, let's wait. Let me not put anything on a community tab and let's just wait until the night when things settle. Then I can bring you a more of a, concise story, if you may. Okay. Chuchu says Rafinha is horrible. To be honest, Yamal would be better next season. I agree. I've always said Rafinha is not Barca level. I know a lot of people defend them. Hopefully, he can prove me wrong. Hopefully, he did terrible because last season, it was his first season. Maybe this season he'll explode onto the scene and do amazing things, especially now with Dembele, gone. Rafinha will definitely be a starter. So I really hope he proves me wrong. But so far from what I've seen, I don't think Rafinha is Barca level. Definitely not worth the 60 million euros that we paid for him. but that's just my opinion. Abdullah says Barca should probably go for Leroy or Chiesa. Again, I'll talk about the possible replacements in a little bit. Let's see. Michael says, does Dembele not know what happened to Neymar? Unfortunately, no. Some people just get blinded by the money. I don't think there's ever been any player who's made a move to PSG and actually said, oh, man, this was a great idea or this was a great decision. I feel like every player who's ever went to PSG has regretted it. But, you know, when they're offering you triple the salary, I guess it doesn't matter, which is sad. It's sad, but it is what it is. Calvin says, I feel like we haven't been fair enough to Dembele about the captaincy issue. I think he should have been the fourth captain instead of Araujo. This is a joke. Is it April 1st? It's not April Fool's Day, is it? You would prefer Dembele as a captain over Araujo. I think I'll just kind of move on. All right. Let's see. Let's get back to the news, because let's discuss what kind of options Barcelona have. Again, Dembele, fundamental player for Xavi. He really counted on him on that right wing. You know, Dembele is is the most dangerous player on the team. Nobody can dribble and do what he does. Again, update to a certain extent, but of course, Dembele does that much, much better. So what are Xavi's options? Now, the first option, which could probably be the more realistic option, is to have Rafinha start. And there is talks about Barcelona now that will try to bring back Vitor Roque. Now, my understanding is that the agreement between Barcelona and Atletico Paranaense is for Vitor Roque to come next year, because the Brazilian club, of course, want to keep him until the end of the season. Their season ends in December. But there is talks about Barcelona going to Brazil and try to convince Atletico Paranaense to bring Vitor back. After all, Vitor Roque can play on the wings, so he could be a substitute to Rafinha technically. And of course, he will be substitute for Lewandowski. So that's the number one option for Barcelona. Count on Rafinha, which I'm not a big fan. Again, I don't think Rafinha is my choice to be a starter. I would prefer him on the bench and then bring in Vitor Roque. The second option is for Barcelona to sign Bernardo Silva. Now, this would probably be Xavi's favorite option, because we all know Bernardo Silva is Xavi Hernandez's dream signing. He's been wanting Barcelona to sign Bernardo Silva ever since he arrived in the club. But of course, this signing is extremely difficult. I don't want to say impossible, because nothing is impossible, but definitely extremely, extremely difficult because the price of the operation. You know, Manchester City want around 80 million euros, plus there's the salary of Bernardo Silva. And of course, Barcelona are not in a position to pay 80 million euros. Now, even if Barcelona received that 100 million euro cash injection that I've talked about, you know, to get 100 million and then spend 80 of it on a player that only leaves you with 20. So what's the point of the cash injection? You just blew most of it out. You know, it's kind of like being broke. You get your first paycheck and then you go and spend it on, I don't know, drinks, right? It wouldn't make sense. So Bernardo Silva, most likely Xavi's favorite option, but very highly unlikely because of the price of the operation. The other option would be João Felix. Now, João Felix, we all know the drama. I reported about it a lot. He really wants to leave Atletico de Madrid, and he made those statements that shook the world, where he said that he wants to go to Barcelona. It's always been his dream to play for Barcelona. It's reported that he sat down with Atletico de Madrid CEO and told him that he wants to leave, but that he will only leave to Barcelona. Now, 2 days ago, I would have told you this operation absolutely impossible. Barcelona won't negotiate because, of course, it would be a very expensive operation. But now with Dembele gone, things do change, and Barcelona could consider signing João Felix as his replacement, but only, of course, if it was on a one-season loan. Because, again, Barcelona, there's no way they could afford to sign João Felix on a permanent basis. Atletico de Madrid are looking to cash out. You know, they spent 120 million euros on him. They're not going to give him away for free or for a low price. So this will be a one-season loan. Now, you might ask, well, how much would that season loan cost? Well, going off about how much Chelsea spent when they took him on loan, they spent around 10 or 11 million euros. So it will be around that figure, which would be affordable for Barcelona. And of course, it would be a temporary solution because it would give Barcelona a whole season to find a more permanent replacement for Dembele, whether it's in the market whether it's, preparing Lamine Yamal or whatever option it is. It gives Barcelona more time to find a replacement, because right now in the market, you're not going to find too many options. It's, August 1st in Europe, so a lot of the good options have already been taken. Now, on one hand, Atletico Madrid do want a permanent transfer. They are looking to cash out, which makes this deal a little bit difficult. But on the other hand, his agent is Jorge Mendes. So if Barcelona say we want Joao Felix on loan for one season, rest assured that Jorge Mendes would do everything in his power to make things happen. And of course, as far as sports agents, Jorge Mendes is simply a magician. If this guy wants something happens, it happens. Now, other names who have been mentioned, maybe not as likely to happen. There's been talks about Yannick Carrasco, maybe Barcelona going back and revisiting the whole Yannick Carrasco. Of course, Yannick Carrasco does play on the left, but he also can play on the right. Hopefully that this doesn't happen. I don't think Yannick Carrasco is Barca material. And of course, he is 29 or 30 years old, so that wouldn't make sense to me. There's also talks about Lo Celso. We had talked about Xavi Hernandez wanting an attacking midfielder, and that Barcelona had considered signing Lo Celso from Tottenham Hotspur. But, that operation kind of cooled down because it wasn't really a priority for the club. It was something like, yeah, it'd be nice to have, but it's not necessary. But now with Dembele gone, then there is talks about maybe having Lo Celso, because now you need more attacking power on the team. So Lo Celso could be an option. And then there is the option, and I think this will be a much better option than Lo Celso, of signing Federico Chiesa in some kind of swap deal with Juventus that would include Frank Kessie plus some cash. Now, I would prefer this option over the Lo Celso option. I think I like Chiesa better. I think he would be a better fit in Barcelona. But of course, all parties would have to agree, which would be difficult. Kessie would prefer to go Premier League rather than the Serie A. Chiesa does want to leave Juventus, but of course, Juventus, we would want to have to see whether Juventus would be willing to do a swap. And then, of course, like I said, Kessie would prefer to go to the Serie A. So these are kind of all the options. Rafinha plus Vitor Roque or Bernardo Silva, highly unlikely. Joao Felix on a one-season loan. Yannick Carrasco, hopefully doesn't happen. Lo Celso or Federico Chiesa in a swap deal for Kessie plus some cash. All right, let's get back to the chat section, and then we'll talk about Barcelona, who have met with Real Valladolid to begin negotiations for Ivan Fresneda, which in my opinion, it's good news. All right. Sorry, guys. Whew. Where did we leave off? Man, this chat really moved on me. Theophilus says, Joao Cancelo for me is not necessary for Barca. I think you mean Joao Felix or you talk about Cancelo. Anyways, whatever it is, if it is Cancelo, I'll talk about Cancelo in a little bit. Crispy Chicken says, I would like to see Adeyemi at the club. The thing about Adeyemi, Dortmund are not open to selling him. Adeyemi has said he wants to stay at Dortmund for the season. So he's not for sale. And even if he was, his market value is 40 million. So expect Dortmund at least to want 80 million for him, which puts us in back to square one, where we can't really afford a signing like that. So that's where we at. Young Braveheart says, get better, Mo. Thank you. And Theophilus says, folks, click on the like button. Yes, please, guys. 255 people watching, which I think is record high. I've never had that many people watching, but only 51 people have liked the video. That's a fifth of people watching that have actually hit the like button. So please, guys, hit the like button. It's actually very, very important. The like button has become something that's very important in YouTube, for the YouTube algorithm, because the more likes the video gets, the more YouTube recommends it to people who've never seen the channel, who've never seen the videos. So the like button actually helps the channel grow a lot more than the subscription button, which used to be the other way around. So please, guys, if you can hit the like button, I appreciate it. It only takes a second. It's free, but it helps me a lot so I can continue bringing you the news, even when I'm sick, because the news never stops. All right, Brad says, Dembele proved even more, so he shouldn't be a captain. Yeah, I mean, a guy who spent the first 5 years injured, who spent the last half season injured, should not be a captain. Chuchu says, was the players that chose the captains Araujo over Ter Stegen. If you even asked me, it was I don't think I understood your comment, but it was the players who voted for captains because that's how captains are chosen in Barcelona. The players vote for them. Butterfly says, I don't think we need to sign someone to replace him. This could be Lamine Yamal's chance to prove himself. Lamine Yamal, forget about it. He's too early for him. He's only 16 years old. He's just signed his first contract. He was just playing at the under 19 team or the Juvenil. There's no way you can expect him to start this season. Lamine Yamal is going to be a Barca Athletic player this season. Maybe he'll continue training with the first team, and maybe we'll see him a few minutes here and there with the first team. But there's no way you can expect him to be a starter. So forget about that option. That will be next season, so 2024, 2025. Of course, it all depends on his development with Barca Athletic. Okay. Musa says, it's very good that Barcelona management knew how to hook Moussa Sissoko. So here's the thing. And this is not news. This is not confirmed. This is not a report. This is simply my feeling. But I really, really think that Moussa Sissoko and Dembele purposely told Barcelona that Dembele wants to leave yesterday, only 2 days before the release clause was set to go to 100 million. And the reason I say this, because it looks like Dembele had already made up his mind for a while that he wanted to leave. So Moussa Sissoko could have told Barcelona on July 1st, which is when the release clause went down to 50 million. He could have told them on the first day, hey, we're leaving. Given PSG 31 days to process all the paperwork and to pay the 50 million euros and take Dembele. But instead, they wait until a day and a half before the deadline. And I'm positive that this is no coincidence because, again, if PSG had paid the release clause, Dembele would have gotten 25 million euros. After taxes, it probably would have been 12.5. But that's all he would have gotten. Now, if Barcelona and PSG and the player all negotiate, now Dembele can negotiate signing bonuses, variables, etc. Now he can ask for a lot more money, and money that wouldn't be taxed under the Spanish tax system, which is the highest in Europe, but it would be taxed under the French system, which is more favorable for the player. So I personally believe that it's not a coincidence that they decided that they wanted to leave a day before the release clause was set to go up to 100 million, because they know that PSG is not going to pay 100 million euros. So that way they force everybody to sit down on the table, negotiate, and that way Dembele can negotiate more money than the 12.5 million euros that he would have gotten had PSG paid the release clause. Again, this is not confirmed. This is not a report. This is not news. This is my personal opinion. That's what I think really happened. Anyways, let's get back to the news. Why am I putting my glasses on? Sorry, I'm sick. All right, let's get back to the news because Barcelona today sat down and met with Real Valladolid to begin negotiations for Ivan Fresneda. Now, I told you about Ivan Fresneda for quite some time. He's one of the most promising right backs currently in Spanish league. He's 18 years old. His current team of Real Valladolid got relegated to the second division at the end of the season. So, of course, he is looking to leave. But he does have a 20 million euro release clause. Now, Barcelona met with the player and his agent several weeks ago. They informed the player that Barcelona would love to sign him, but they first, they need to register the contract renewals, need to make their priority signings, then register those signings. And then if they still had enough space on the wage bill, then they would try to sign him. So, in other words, Barcelona told the player, we would love to sign you, but you would have to wait for us. Now, Ivan Fresneda has half of Europe after him. And despite that, he has waited for almost a month for Barcelona to get its act together, to finalize everything they needed to finalize. And he's even rejected a lot of offers while waiting for Barcelona, which goes to show Ivan Fresneda's commitment to come to Barcelona, because he could have easily accepted any of the other European offers, which I have no doubt they're much higher than Barcelona, because these days, even anybody can offer more than Barcelona. Now, Barcelona have met with Real Valladolid. They have, in order to start negotiating with Ivan Fresneda, because now that Dembele will be leaving, he will be clearing space on the wage bill, which would allow Barcelona to sign Ivan Fresneda. So now that Barcelona could sign the young player, they met with Real Valladolid today. in order to negotiate. And even though no deal was reached, there's a lot of positive feelings about the meeting. Barcelona, it's reported that they offered Real Valladolid 8 million euros for Ivan Fresneda plus Stanis Pedrola. Now, Real Valladolid listened to Barcelona and they will come back with a counter offer. No counter offer was made, but they will take all the info that they got from Barcelona. They will think it over and then they'll send a counter offer to the club. But the club are feeling positive again. It was a positive meeting. And of course, as I said, Ivan Fresneda has waited for Barcelona almost a month. He's rejected many offers from other European clubs. So that fact alone, Barcelona makes Barcelona feel very positive because as we've seen before, when the players put their foot down and decide that they're only going to negotiate with a certain club, of course, makes things much more favorable for Barcelona because it takes a negotiation leverage away from Real Valladolid or from whatever club where the player currently plays, right? Because, Real Valladolid cannot come to Barcelona and say, your offer is crap. I don't want it. I'm just going to negotiate with other clubs. Well, the player doesn't want to negotiate with other clubs. So you're forced to negotiate with me. Now you're forced to accept whatever crappy offer I make you. So Barcelona feeling positive. No deal yet. Real Valladolid have listened to Barcelona and they will come up with a counter offer. Hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully Barcelona can wrap this deal up. I think Ivan Fresneda will be a great addition to the team. I've seen some highlights of him. Very solid defensively. He gave Vinicius a lot of problems. He gave Barcelona a lot of problems when Barcelona faced Real Valladolid. And he's only 18 years old, so plenty of room to grow, to develop. And then, again, it would be a better option than Joao Cancelo, who is reported to be Xabi's favorite option. Now, Xabi would prefer Cancelo because Cancelo is ready, right? Cancelo's in his prime. Cancelo has played at the highest level. Cancelo, if he arrives, he can start tomorrow and it will be no problem. But the problem is Cancelo would only be a one-season loan. So next summer, we'll be back at square one, trying to figure out who's going to be our right back. Also, Cancelo would cost 20 million euros to loan him for one season. Between salary, fees, etc., it would cost 20 million euros to get a player for one season. And the next summer, we'll be back at square one versus Ivan Fresneda. Even if Barcelona pay his release clause, which they don't want to do, but even if they do, it's worth 20 million euros. But you're getting a player for 4, 5, 6 seasons, right? So what's better, to pay 20 million euros for one season or pay 20 million euros for a guy who's going to be here for 4 or 5 seasons, right? Obviously, the other option. And that's assuming that Barcelona actually paid Ivan Fresneda's release clause, which they don't want to do. They actually want to pay 8 million euros. So again, 8 million euros for 5 seasons versus 20 for one. I don't think that's a difficult decision. Of course, Xabi would prefer Cancelo because he's ready. Ivan Fresneda would be more of a risk because you don't know how he's going to turn out. Where Cancelo, we all know what he's capable of. I would make my bet on Fresneda any day. I've said it many times before. I prefer Barcelona to make these kind of bets on young players who don't cost much, because if they do end up working out, bam, you just got a star for very little money. And if they don't work out, who cares? You just spent 5-6 million euros. No big deal. Versus Dembele, we spent 120 million, nothing happened, right? Coutinho, 105, nothing. Griezmann, 130, nothing, right? I would rather spend those 5, 6, 7, 8 million euros on a player, and if he doesn't work out, oh well. And if he does, hell, you just sign a star for 7 million euros. But that's my opinion. Anyways, let's get back to the chat section. That's all the news I got for you. I know most of it was about Dembele, but that's what the club was dealing with the whole day. So not much news besides that and Ivan Fresneda. So let's get back to the chat section. Let's do a few more comments. Let's get the discussion going, and then we'll wrap it up. And then I'm gonna drink a hot tea and go to sleep. So tomorrow I won't be discongested and you can actually understand what I'm saying. All right. Sorry. Theophilus says, Xabi must trust in the abilities and uniqueness of Abde. He does. Again, Xabi would prefer Abde, of course, over Ferran. But, of course, Abde does play on the left. He could be technically a solution for Dembele because even though Abde plays on the left, he is right-footed. So technically, you could switch Abde over to the right wing, but he is better on the left. And I'm a firm believer of having players play in the position where they are best. Even if they're good playing somewhere else, I would still prefer that the player play where they play best. It's like kind of like Araujo, right? Araujo plays on the right wing and he demolishes Vinicius, but I would still prefer him to play as a center back because that's where he shines the most. Same thing with Alejandro Balde. We've seen that he can play on the right back, but doesn't mean I want him to play on the right back. I would prefer him on the left because that's where he shines best. Okay, let's see. Where else? Prince says, hello, my brother. My name is Prince from Liberia. What's up, Prince? And Chuchu says, Mo, I would rather have Felix, to be honest, than Rafinha start. 100%. I would too. And I know people always say that I hate Rafinha. I don't hate Rafinha. It's nothing personal. I just think he's not Barca level. Again, I really wish he proves me wrong. I would rather have players prove me wrong and end up, exploding and doing amazing than me being right, because I don't gain anything from me being right. If the player proves me wrong, he ends up doing great. That means my team does great. That means we can win matches, we can win trophies, and that's what I want at the end of the day. I don't care about being right. I care about my team winning. So if Rafinha can prove me wrong, then please do. Everyone, I want all the Barcelona players to do great. But so far, from what I've seen, I'm just not convinced. So yes, 100% Chuchu, I'm with you. I would rather see Joao Felix over Rafinha. Emza says, I think we'll be all right without Dembele, with Rafinha, Yamal, because honestly, I don't see Pep letting both Gundogan and Silva go. We will be fine. We will be fine. I mean, when Dembele got injured last season, he was gone for almost half of the season. We did fine. Obviously, it's still a loss. It still sucks, but it's not the end of the world. It's not like when Messi left. And even when Messi left, like even though it was a huge loss, we still managed to do well because this is Barcelona, and Barcelona is bigger than any club. So yeah, it sucks to lose Dembele, but we'll be fine. Sorry, guys. Crispy says, I feel like if Barca are going to spend 80 mil on Silva, I'd rather they buy Adeyemi from them. Well, they're not. That's the thing. They're not going to spend 80 million for Silva because there's no 80 million euros to spend. I would love to spend on the Lambo or Ferrari, but I don't have the money to do either. Nima says, Chiesa makes sense with Dembele leaving. He does. But again, the swap deal for Kessie would have to want to go to Juventus, which he prefers to go to Premier League. And of course, Juventus would also going to have to want, and the player. So too many moving parts. Not saying it's impossible, but it's definitely a difficult deal to pull. Sintu says, people shouldn't have high expectation on replacing Dembele. Same thing, we thought that Kimmich or Subimendi was going to replace Busquets. We don't have the money. I agree. We don't have the money, so we'll have to see. But, when you have Alemany on your team, anything is possible. I mean, we've seen Alemany, and even Deco, right? Deco has been doing great work. Alemany, we all know the tactician he is. So I won't get my hopes up. I don't think we're gonna sign Mbappe tomorrow to replace Dembele, but we're definitely in good hands. El Pollito, that's funny. Says Mo, we need a right wing, not what's an SS or attacking midfielder, I guess. I still don't trust Rafinha and Ferran. We do. But we'll see. We can always have an attacking midfielder as well to replace Dembele. Show says if we can get Silva for 70 million in installments, bring Vitor Roque and Joao Cancelo, I think will be great. I like Federico, but only if Rafinha or Ferran leave. Well, the problem is Manchester City are going to have to want to give us Bernardo Silva and for installments, it's a lot to ask. It's one of their key players, and you want them, in installments. I don't know if that's plausible. Kings decided let's use that money to get a right back and backup left back. We don't need a backup for left back. We have Alonso. That's definitely not a priority. We're not going to spend the very little money that we have to bring a player that we don't need. Let's see. What else? Young Professional Construction Company. All right. Says, I'm Franklin Mendel, joining you from Liberia. What's up, Franklin? What else? Dark Knight says, get well soon. Get well, Mo. You're a good source for the truth. Thank you, Dark Knight. Can't even read. Kingsley says Silva is too old. He's not too old. He's 28 years old. That's prime years for football players. Let's see. Raymond says, Mo, since Dembele is leaving, does that mean Vitor Roque coming in the summer? That's an option. But of course, as my understanding is that the agreement with Atletico Paranaense is for him to come in 2024. So maybe Barcelona would have to talk to Atletico Paranaense and be like, hey, can we have him now, please? Please, please, please. Ross says, can we use Dest, Alonso, and Fati to get Chao? Nobody wants Dest. That's the problem. So I don't know if that would work. Richard says, aren't you concerned about Cancelo? City had issues with him. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I would rather get Fresneda, because Cancelo, from all the reports, is that he's very toxic, and that's why he didn't work out at Man City, and that's why he didn't work out at Bayern. So no, I would definitely prefer Fresneda over Cancelo. Again, because of the age, because of the price, but also because I have heard or read reports that he is in the locker room. He's very toxic. And the last thing we want is anyone interrupting the dynamic, because we've seen how close the players have gotten. Xavi's done a really good job of building a close-knit group with the locker room, and I wouldn't want anyone to come and just implode and destroy all that, because that's very important. If there's no chemistry, there's no closeness between the players, it doesn't matter how good they are, it's not going to work out. And PSG is the perfect example, right? They have the biggest, best collection of football stars, but they can't do anything on the field because their locker room is a mess. It's all just a bunch of egos fighting about, who's the toughest guy. Nuruddin says, sell Dembele and sign Felix on loan, and then wait for Bernardo Silva's contract to expire and sign him for free. I mean, if we don't go for Silva, most likely he will renew with Man City. So I don't know if we could wait for it to expire. But either way, there's no money for Silva. Let's see. We'll do 2 more comments and then we'll wrap it up. I know we're at 42 minutes now. It's pretty long for us live stream. Let's see. Young Braveheart says we should spend the money smart instead of wasting big money. That's what put us in the hole. I agree. All right, and let's scroll all the way down for one more comment. And Gent says, if we sign Cancelo, he will cover both fullback position. He will take us to next level. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, he obviously would be a good addition, but I don't know. I'm not convinced on the Cancelo deal. Okay, let's see. Abdullah says, hijack Cristiano Ronaldo from Al Nassr. That's funny. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for your comments, your likes, your subscriptions. For those of you who will be watching when this ends, I'll be putting chapters in the timeline, timestamps in the description to make it a little bit smoother and faster for you in case you want to skip that discussion. I will see you in tomorrow's video. Hopefully good news. Hopefully less drama. Hopefully I'll feel better so you don't have to listen to me coughing. But anyways, have a good night or good morning wherever you are in the world. And as always, Visca Barça.